Welcome back children to my channel. Today's poem is Class 12 English, an elementary school classroom in a slum. This is a poem which is written by Stephen Spender, who was an English poet and essayist. And he was also a socialist and a pacifist, and he has written a number of books. And this present poem, an elementary school classroom in a slum, it is dealing with the theme of social injustice and class inequalities. So now let us start with the poem, and we are going to do the explanation paragraph wise. So in the first stanza, let us read out. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pillow, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lessons from his desk, at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room other than this. Now let us start with the explanation. So now, what happens, this poet Stephen Spender, he visits a school in a poor slum area. Slum area, as you all be knowing, a very poor area which is deprived of even the simple facilities. And he is very sad and he is very appalled to notice some miserable situation of the children who are studying there, and the condition of the school, it is even more worse. And looking at all these conditions, he describes and he paints out a sorrowful picture with vivid imagery contrasting the rich world outside their slum. So जब वो स्कूल जाता है, जब वो कंडीशन देखता है बच्चों की, तो उससे रहा नहीं जाता और वो बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेनेशन देता है कि किस तरह से जो रिच वर्ल्ड है और जो स्लम है एरिया, how they are contrasting with each other. Now he says that children are far, far away from the gusty waves. Now gusty means blowing strong. He says that these children, they are very far away from the strongly blowing waves, from the enjoyment of the nature. Now, you can see this word far. It is used again to put an emphasis on the distance between the children and the gusty waves. Now, the poetic device here used is repetition. Now, he means to say that as the normal children, they feel very happy. They symbolize the bright, energetic, lively and full of enjoyment side of life on seeing the waves. You must be all feeling very happy when you see sea waves which are dashing against the seashore. But these poor children of the slum, they are away from this bright and hopeful life which the rich people they see. So these children, these slum children, they are devoid of even such little happiness, such little enjoyment of seeing the waves, seeing the strong winds blowing over the sea. So these children, in contrast, they are living a life of hopelessness. They don't have any hopes of a bright future. Their faces, they are unkept, they are very dirty. Their hair, they are untidily, they are scattering around their pale, malnourished faces. Now why malnourished? Because living in a slum, they are devoid of even simple food. And this it is representing their unhealthy lifestyle, their again the hopelessness. And also, the poet compares them to rootless weeds. Now, as you all know, weeds are what? They are some unwanted wild plants which grow in the fields. Here they are referring to the paddy fields. Paddy is rice. So these slum children, they are just like weeds. एक ऐसे पौधे जिनकी किसी को भी जरूरत नहीं है. They are unwelcomed. They are not wanted by the rich world. So these children, they are never welcomed by the rich children. Just like weeds, they are never welcomed, they are never accepted in their rich society. We remove the weeds from the field. Similarly, these children are also removed from their lifestyle of the rich. So this poet here, he compares the insecure life of the weeds to the insecure life of the slum children. Now then, the poet, he comes to the classroom and then he describes different children who are sitting in the class. Now first, he speaks of a girl, a tall girl who is sitting with her head bowed down. And now This poet, he tries to present the depressed girl with the bowed down head. Now why? Because maybe he's overloaded, maybe he's unburdened with the difficulties and the struggle of life, and that's why she's so exhausted. Maybe वो इतनी थक गई है कि वो अपना सिर भी ऊपर नहीं रख सकती है. She can't even sit straight. So that's why he is describing the girl who is sitting with her head bowed down, वो सिर झुकाकर बैठी. Then the next boy he describes, who is just lightweight like a paper. Now can you see the comparison he is doing, the simile which is used like a paper. Paper is such a light thing, it can blow out with the wind. So the other boy, he is looking like lightweight like a paper. And his eyes they are just like a rat. Very small, बहुत छोटी छोटी आँखें हैं, and he is looking scared. वो डरा हुआ है. डरा हुआ किससे है? Outside world से, बाहर की दुनिया से. Because they don't get exposure to see the outside world. He is looking weak, he is looking very weak and tender, and it feels like वो कुछ ढूंढ रहा है. He's searching something. Maybe he's searching some food, or maybe he's searching some shelter, or maybe he wants some better life which he's unable to get in the slum area. Then we have the next boy. The next boy, he is reciting a lesson from the book, but his appearance is very pathetic. He is having twisted bones, and it seems he is affected with some genetic disease. Maybe this disease is related with stunted growth or underdeveloped growth, and that's why the poet calls him unlucky here. Because like rich people, they get money, they get property, they get a lot of goodies from their parents, but this child, he is getting nothing from his parents except poverty, poor, struggle, slum life, which is full of dirt, filth, and the genetic disease, which is carried on from generation to generation. So, by describing all these children, the poet is trying to present just like a hell life, a very miserable life with these children of slum they are having, and they have no hope of future. And also, then in the last line, he tells that there is a boy who is sitting in that dim classroom, who, unlike the other children, he is having some hopes and dreams in his eyes, and he is dreaming of squirrel games. Squirrel is gilhari. Just like a squirrel, it runs up and down on the trees, it's playing the game. Similarly, he is just dreaming of nature, of life, of energy. So the squirrel game here is naturally representing some nature and the life outside. So this unnoticed boy, he is representing a ray of hope and life in the dark and dull classroom. Now, by looking all these points, can you not easily explain how the poet, he is very cleverly explaining to you the condition of the children, a very, very miserable condition of the children in the slum area. Now, let us move to the second stanza. On sour cream walls, donations. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome, riding all cities. Belt, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its word. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this world, our world, where all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes and stars of words. Now let us do the explanation of this stanza 2. So now he is describing the classroom. Now the walls of the classroom, he is saying they are very unpleasant. Now why they are unpleasant? Now first of all, these walls, they are decorated with the donations and the pictures. And also there is a picture of Shakespeare. And there are also different pictures, some given by some maybe affluential and the rich people. And then he is saying that these walls are unpleasant. देखने में बिल्कुल अच्छी नहीं लग रही हैं. They are off-white in color, palish color, because of dirt. Naturally, dust and dirt is there. There is decay, there is unhygienic life of the slum. And also, some rotten smell may be coming out because there is lack of maintenance of the walls. So now, why this picture of Shakespeare? What is it representing? Now it is representing knowledge. As we all know, Shakespeare, one of the greatest writer, the poet, the essayist of the century. And now he is presenting knowledge, education, and the literate world in contrast to this despondent world in the slum. It is just a contrast which you can see. Now, the other pictures which are hanging on the wall, there are the pictures of a clear sky at dawn, a flowery valley of Austria, which is Tyrolese, and then also a doom of an ancient civilization. Now, let us read all these phrases one by one. Cloudless sky at dawn. Now, cloudless sky at dawn, it represents clear, pollution-free sky of world, the outer world, the rich world of the nature, in contrast to the dull or dimly lit, polluted sky of the slum. And then the next is civilized doom. Now, this civilized doom, what does it represent? It represents the rich, the progressive, and the civilized world outside the slum, in contrast with the stagnant and the dull slum. Then Tyrolese Valley. Now, naturally, it's a beautiful valley, a pleasant, beautiful world. And in contrast, the slum area is dirty and filthy. And this classroom, naturally, it is very filthy and dirty. Then, open-handed map. Now, open-handed map, they represent the opportunities which are given to the world. The outside world, they have lot of opportunities, but these slum children, they have very limited ones, or rather I should say they don't have any opportunity outside the slum. Now, poetry says that these rich people who are just giving the donations, it is just like pretense. They're just pretending to be generous, because these people living in the slum, they have no importance or no relevance to all these pictures or all these figures of Shakespeare. Why? Because what they are seeing the outside world is only through the window of their school classroom. And what do they see? They only see the dirty slum. So what is the use of beautiful flowers or valleys or different civilization pics? They don't have any importance for that. So that's why their future is foggy. It is uncertain, it is bleak, it is unwelcoming, it is monotonous. And they are confined to this narrow, congested street of the slum. As you all know, the slum has got very narrow street, congested, dirty, filthy streets, and their sky is even unpolluted. It's full of pollution. So, what they are having, they're not even getting a chance to breathe in the fresh air. उन्हें साफ हवा भी नहीं मिल रही है, clean roads भी नहीं मिल रहे हैं. They are trapped there. They have nothing, nowhere to go. So, in all, it is symbolizing their dark future. And they are miles away from rivers or highlands or seas, all those areas which denote the enjoyment or the adventure of the nature. Now we have another phrase, the stars of words. Now the stars of words, they represent the words which were written under the pictures. Now they had got the donated pictures. So these pictures, they had some words written under them. And these words, they just appear like distant stars, the far off stars to the slum children. Because all those cities displayed in the pictures, the words written, they are unachievable. What good they are for them? They are nothing for them. They are far away, just like stars. They are just far away from the wisdom that can empower their future. So, let us come to the stanza third. Surely, Shakespeare is wicked, and the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night, on their slag heap, these children wear skins, peaked through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So blot their maps with slums as big as two. Now let us go to the explanation of the paragraph third. Now here, the poet, he calls Shakespeare wicked. Now can you imagine calling Shakespeare wicked? Now he's calling him wicked because, as we all know, he writes enlightenment. Through his writing, we get enlightened. But these children, the children living in the slum, they have no hope of entering into that enlightened world. They don't have opportunities, they don't have any means. So what is the use of all these Shakespeare pictures out there? So that is why he is saying that it is wicked. It is of no use to these children. What is the use of Shakespeare here? They are not going to be enlightened. Then he also calls map a bad example, because Maps for these children, they have no place for them. Ships, sun, love, these are all symbolizing joy and happiness, which these children they never got. They're always deprived of. They can always wish for it. They can aspire for going to far off places, but they can't afford. There is no means for them to go there. So it is just like a cruel temptation from them. उनका मन होता है जाने का, पर वो जा नहीं सकते क्योंकि उनके पास means नहीं है. So because of all these desires, maybe they go and steal or they commit crime to fulfill them. So that's why it is said these maps are a bad example. There is no use of putting the maps there and filling some cruel temptations in the mind of these children. Now, further the poet says that these children's lives, they are confined. They are fixed to just a narrow, cramped holes of the dark slum. As you all know, cramped holes, बिल्कुल छोटी जगहें हैं, space कम है, polluted areas है, filthy streets हैं, opportunities नहीं है, so their just lives are cramped there. They are living a life of uncertainty. They don't have any bright future. They pass their life in the polluted slum. They are struggling since the foggy morning to the dark night. Means it also refers, deeply it refers to their lives, which is moving from bad to worse. It is not improving. It is moving from bad to worse, and that is starting from the birth to death. So their life is nothing but uncertainty. Then the lives of these children are further compared to a slag heap. Now why slag heap? Because they are just like a wastage of this refined, educated society. And that is why they are just dumped in garbage. Just like a garbage they have been dumped on by this so-called educated society. And now if you look at the conditions, it is very pathetic. If you look at their physical appearance, their bones, they are peeping out through their skin. They are so skinny that they just look like skeletons. And even you can just count their bones through the skin. And this is all because of malnutrition. They are not getting adequate food to eat even. Forget the education. And they are using steel frame spectacles, which are mended or cracked glasses. Means the glasses are also not even intact. So just imagine how they are going to see through them. So it is looking just like broken pieces of a bottle. They have been scattered out stones and those are put in their spectacles. So imagine their situation. And so they are just living a life of a hell, which is just confined to their uncertain, unhealthy and polluted state. Now, they are also like a blot or stain in the progress of this civilized life. Now, look at the words the poet has used. They are just like a blot or a stain. वो धब्बा है society पर, एक progressive society पर वो एक दाग है, एक धब्बा है. And they are called a stain in the map because they don't belong to this beautiful civilized world which is depicted on the map, but they are just having an unhealthy and undernourished life in this filthy slum full of dirt and dust. Now let us go on the last stanza, the stanza 4. Unless governor, teacher, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break open till they break the town and show the children green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands and let their tongues run naked into books. The white and green leaves open. History is theirs whose language is the sun. So now let us go with the explanation of the stanza 4. Now, in the last paragraph, the poet is trying to uplift the situation of these children and he is urging the civilized world to please come forward and do something for these children to improve their condition. So he is saying that there is no coordination between the civilized world and this world of the children in the slum. So he is asking the people from all spheres of life, may it be the governors or the inspectors or the teachers or the visitors, he wants all of them to come forward, educate these children, so that this gap, this drastic gap of the underprivileged or the haves and the have-nots, it can be bridged up. So then he says that the displayed maps, They always inspire the children to go somewhere, to go to the open areas rather than to their slums. And these slums, they are compared to what? They are compared to enclosed spaces like underground cemeteries or graves, which are dark and suffocating. So he is urging all the people to break through this miserable and hopeless condition of these slum children and let them see the green fields, let them see the open areas out of this slumming. They should expose the slum children to the nature, a free air. They should breathe in open air, which is unlimited, just like the rest of the world. Now there are some phrases. They say they'll run azure on gold sands and let their tongues. Now here, if you see, there's irony in this. Now gold sand. Gold sand, it is the sand which is in the desert area. While azure or the blue color, it is the color of the nature. In the spring seasons, when there is always water and green happiness. Now it is also a symbol of freedom. Now it is known that nothing grows in desert. And this world of these poor children, it is also like a desert sand. So he is just saying that there is impossibility that a spring may come in the desert land. But then that's why he's urging that please, everybody should come and let them run openly on the gold sands. Let the blue color, let the happiness, let the freedom run on the gold sands. Let their life be blessed ones. He says that the children should be allowed to express freely without any kind of inhibition. They should be given freedom to enjoy the bounteous blessings of nature. They should breathe fresh air. They should read books. They should train their mind to think and form their own opinions. And if they are given sufficient exposure, अगर उन्हें भी सब जैसा मिलता है सब कुछ, so what happens? They can discover themselves, their talents, and then they can conquer the great heights. And then one day, their names can also be given in the history. The sky can then be the limit if they are given the full opportunity. So one should possess the strength and the brightness of the sun only, then he or she can create in history. So here in the end, the poet, he wishes to break all the kinds of social bonding and inequalities to create a better world. So I hope you must have all understood this poem and all the explanation of the 4 stanzas.